Hello, everyone. Hi. My name is Jacqueline Bambenek, and I'm from a small town in Wisconsin. Do I have any other Midwesterners out there? Fantastic. So, when we get into the space of what is home for each of you? And what I've come to understand in all of my journeys, and I've been a mystical nomad now for quite a while, where I've traveled all over and I've lived all over. And the journey has been one of helping me to understand that the greatest sense of home that you can ever receive is that of knowing home in your heart. And so I want to welcome you all into a journey today of that experience, of knowing what it means to come home to your heart. Because so often we've started this life out. Our parents, they didn't have an instruction manual on how to raise us as children. And so we've all experienced different events in our lives that when we were small children felt traumatic. And those traumas that seem so small to our parents, well, they created lasting effects. And those lasting effects, they created triggers. And they test us. And they help us to really come into the experience of knowing ourselves. But here's the great thing about triggers. Triggers help us to come home to our heart. They help us to see when it is that we have come away from our heart. Where have we wavered in our own love for ourselves? And so often, we end up putting a mask on in order to hide, in order to not feel, in order to suppress and push down the things that we don't want to feel. But it's in the feeling that the healing happens. So in my work as a somatic breathwork practitioner, what I've come to find is that if you look out into the world, we have this experience of noticing. We notice the plant and the animal kingdom and how they are inherently the expression of life and love. And the one wonderful thing about animals in the wild is that when they're faced with danger, what happens is they go into a response where when they're no longer in danger, their body will tremor and shake. The only mammals that don't do that are human beings and zoo animals that have been held captive. So I want you to feel into, is there anything that you've been repressing or suppressing, or a wound that generationally has carried forward from your family? So we've been given all these amazing gifts from our family. And sometimes those traumas that feel so difficult, those are actually helping us to understand and become more of who we truly are inside of our heart when we find our way back home. So I want to ask you, and it's just really interesting because so often we have this idea of what life is supposed to be. We're being told, you need to do this, you need to be that, and it needs to look good. You need to look good. You need to get it right. You need to figure it out. But unfortunately, that just leaves us feeling inadequate. And you are so precious and so beautiful. And your heart is this magnificent light in the world when it's lit up with passion and purpose. But so often we can't find it because we're too busy trying to get it right and get it perfect. So right now, I'm actually going to take this cloak of perfectionism off. Because it's not about getting it right. If you keep striving to get it right, you're going to be striving for something that's unattainable your entire life. And your life matters. You matter. And I don't want that for you. I want you to realize that you are the future leaders of this world. And you have the capacity to bring greater light and love and healing, but it all starts right here. So right here, what kind of armor did you have to put on? What kind of walls did you have to put up in order to protect you from getting hurt, from being seen, being heard, speaking your truth? And your voice matters. Your presence of being here now, being you matters. And you are what is going to help elevate our world into knowing love within themselves, because you're walking the path and you're finding it within you. So right now, I'm actually going to take off those walls. And let go of that prison that we put ourselves in. And now, I want to ask you, what have you experienced in your life that took you out of your body, from being embodied and feeling the knowing of what it feels like to be authentic and real and speaking your truth? Where did you have to hide? Did someone commit an abuse against you, verbally, emotionally, physically, sexually? Did someone do something to you against your will? Because right now, we're taking our life back. We're taking our heart back, and we're coming home. And right now, we're stripping off anything that's keeping us from being inside of our body. And we're going to let it go. So we get real, we get authentic, and we take off all of the barriers that keep us from being here right now. And then we put on the armor of being present in love with ourselves, to not abandon ourselves anymore. Your parents and generations behind us handed us our wounds. They didn't know how to be present with us. They didn't know how to allow us to be ourselves and to express ourselves. And they were afraid of looking bad. Do you remember a time when you were a small child and you were shut down from saying what you needed, speaking from your heart, crying out? You are too precious not to be in the fullest expression of you, and you're too beautiful. So right now, I'd like us all to close our eyes. And I want you to feel into what that wounding was. And I want you to imagine that you have your parents. I'm blessed to have mine in heaven. And so my mom was one of my greatest teachers. My mom had a palsy. My mom had polio when she was a little girl. My mom couldn't get around. She was afraid of her mom. She couldn't do anything right. And so when I burned my hand as a small child, my mom shut me down because I was screaming, and she was afraid I was going to wake my grandfather up. She also left me on the side of the road when I was about 5 years old for having a temper tantrum inside of JCPenney's. She was one of my greatest teachers. She's right here. She's right here. And she says, "Baby, give me that wound back. I got that wound from my mom. It's not yours to carry. Let me give it back to my mom, and she can give it back to her mom, and we can heal this right now. You don't have to carry it anymore." And for my dad's here too. My dad, I got this poverty consciousness. My dad grew up in the Depression, and he tried his best. But he had that consciousness from the Depression era. So, Dad, I'm giving you this poverty wound back, the scarcity, the lack. And he's like, "Honey, give it to me. Baby, you don't need to carry that anymore. It's not yours." It was my dad and my mom's. You know, we were scared. We had 12 kids in our family. We didn't know how we were going to feed the family. And that scarcity was inside of my blood. Give it back to me now. So here, Dad, thank you so very much. And he's passing it back, generation to generation, when there just wasn't enough. So close your eyes. Feel into your heart. What are the wounds that you've carried? And right now, I would love for you to give those wounds back. Graciously, with so much love, and saying, "Thank you so much, because it has helped me to discover who I'm not, so I can actually feel into my heart and come home to my heart and discover who I truly am." So close your eyes. Imagine being a small child and you're with your mother or your father or someone you love dearly, and an event that occurred that made you feel less than, that made you feel you had to hide. What is it that was going on for you that caused a belief and you carried it all of these years? And now imagine your mom or your dad, your grandparents, wherever you got that wound, and say, "Thank you, and it's not my responsibility to carry this anymore. You can have it back." And now it's their responsibility. And see them now handing it back to their mother, father, grandparent, and be with the presence of being clear and clean and present in love and their love for you. And now feel into the gifts, the gifts that really can accentuate who you are and who you get to be in this life right now. And I know on my mom's side, my grandma and grandpa were wonderful business owners. They were loved in the community. They had a bakery. So everybody in town knew them and loved them. And so imagine the gifts that you're getting from your family that make you you, or that you strive to be more of. And feel into that. And empower yourself with their gifts. and empower my dad. My dad is like, don't forget. My love of nature, love in general came from my dad's side of the family. Very loving, very kind, very nature-oriented. So thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, ancestors, as we generationally allow ourselves to know that we are here as the leaders that are here to pass forward greater love and light in our world for generations, to heal ourselves, to heal one another, and to heal this world, and to be the reflection of love that inspires people further. So with that, I'm going to go put on a different set of clothes. I'll be right back. So here I am with you today, standing fiercely, unwaveringly, in love, home in my heart, opening the doorway to the divine destiny, which welcomes you into your purpose and your passion, because that is who we inherently are, and we get to stand in love together. Thank you so much.
That was awesome! Yes, 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 yes! Woo! The whole world needs to hear that, don't they? Yes! Oh, such an incredible inspiration. That last piece, too, was a great little elevator, like 20-second, like, bam! And everyone's like, oh my God, who is that? I want her. Oh, baby, gorgeous. Oh, so beautiful. Wow. So beautiful. Ah.